Thanks for coming out to the Georgia Tech Goat Show, the Fall 11 version. I'm Allison Martin, and I teach the lab portion of a class at Georgia Tech. It's a psychology course called Experimental Analysis of Behavior. In that class, psychology students learn about things like classical and operant conditioning, whereas at some universities, they might work with rats or pigeons in a laboratory setting. We have a really unique partnership with Zoo Atlanta, where the students get to come out here once a week and work with the goats. And sometimes the sheep. This semester, just the goats here at the petting zoo. It's a really nice arrangement because the students get experience with operant conditioning and applying that to animal training. And it's also nice for the zoo because the goats get some enrichment and training that they otherwise might not get, and some individual attention. So basically, these students don't have any training background. They come into the course. I tell them to pick a goat and pick a behavior that they want to teach their goat this semester, and they get about 10 to 15 minutes per week with their goat. So what you're going to see here is what they've done in that time. Sometimes it's going to be a work in progress, and so they're going to tell you how they did it. Basically, we use positive reinforcement training, and specifically most of the students that you see are going to use a process called shaping, where if you have a really complex behavior, you break that behavior up into smaller steps.
Goat is Wiley, back there right now. Wiley is a Nigerian dwarf goat of about 8 years, I believe, and he's been trained here the last couple of years. So he's got a lot of training. He can do a lot of commands already. And so we decided that we were going to have him balance on this board, and what we defined as balancing was for him to get up on one end of the board, walk all the way across, and get off at the other end. And so to do this, we started off with, for our shaping plan, things like whenever he looked at the board, we would click and treat him, and then he would start doing that pretty well, like just keep on doing that until he started stepping on the board. We'd click him and reinforce him for that, reinforce the behavior. And then we'd try to get him to walk on the board. Wiley, balance. Wiley, target. Wiley, balance. Wiley, target. What we've been doing recently is trying to get less distance of us walking with him and try and do it just more of just the verbal cue and us start walking a little bit. It's been hard to train that, but it's been working out pretty well. Alright, Wiley, balance. Wiley, target. Wiley, balance. Very good.
Okay, I'm Melinda, this is Neha, and our goat was Toowoomba. Toowoomba is a 9-year-old Nigerian dwarf goat, and he's been in training for several years now. Because he's more experienced, we decided to train a fairly complicated behavior. Our goal was to have Toowoomba fetch this little pouch, which we defined as one of us throwing the pouch away and having him go after it, pick it up with his mouth, and bring it back to us. Because goats, unlike dogs, aren't really accustomed to carrying things in their mouths, we first had to train him to just pick up the pouch. So we started by holding it in front of him and having him take it from us, then setting it on a table and having him pick it up from there, and finally having us throw it away and him going after it and picking it up. It was pretty easy to train him to pick up the pouch. The biggest challenge was having him hold it for more than a couple seconds or actually walk with it. And because we got kind of worried that we wouldn't have time to train him to actually bring it back to us, we started just reinforcing him for holding it long enough for one of us to go to him and take it from his mouth. So that was how we started, just having him kind of take it from our mouths. Because we realized that it's not food, so he's like, why am I holding this? It's very itchy. And then we would start placing it on a surface and having him pick it up from there. And then finally we started actually having him go after it. Toomba. Which he was playing. Going back and forth, so he knows to go to one person and then back.
They're good. Good.
You're actually doing really good.
My name is Riley Winton. This is Christopher Berger and Stephen Wakeland. And we are currently waiting for our wonderful subject. But Kipper is our goat. He is an 8-year-old Nigerian dwarf goat. He has one twin named Murray, who will be coming out later. The behavior we decided to train Kipper on is bowling with pins and a ball. We decided to do this because he had previous training experience with soccer, which involved pushing a ball with his nose through a set of goalposts. And so we figured that would be easily generalizable to the task of pushing a ball. Our operational definition for the task of bowling is having Kipper push a ball with his nose such that it travels a certain distance and knocks down at least one pin. To accomplish this, we started by just refreshing his soccer behavior. We would place the ball down and we would reinforce his behavior anytime he gave any attention to the ball or happened to push it. This actually went very quickly, so we moved on, and then we decided to try to get him to work on the task of knocking the pins down. To do this, we set one pin down and we had him knock it over, just without the ball. This actually turned to cause some problems because through later sessions, often he would try to hit the ball, and if he didn't, he would just go right past it, go to the pins and knock them down. You may see sometimes. Cool. Target.
Sometimes, especially on rainy days, we have to lower the distance to make sure he'd actually get the pins. He isn't excited.
Kipper, bolt. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Kipper, bolt.
Yeah!
That's his stubborn side coming out. Kipper, come. Kipper, target. Kipper, bolt. Come. Kipper. As you can see, setting the pins up is often very difficult. Often we have to distract them long enough, especially with the rain, not helping him. Kipper, bolt.
That's good, but he's on food. It's raining outside, so we're all standing in here. Us and the parents. Hi. These two people are pretty happy. Evidence Dr. Moore was here. Not much going on. Let's get an overview shot. There's Allison giving a speech. And we're back.
Okay. Hey, I'm Abigail, and my partner is Kristen, and we train Murray this semester. Murray is an 8-year-old Nigerian dwarf goat, and he has had some experience training. He's been here for a while. This semester we wanted to train him to shake his head at a verbal cue. So we define shaking his head as turning his head back, turning his head to one side and the other, turning his head 4 times. That's it, in any direction. So initially we had to capture the behavior of turning the head. So we cued him up onto the platform, which is a command he already knows, and we waited for him to naturally turn his head. And when he did, we reinforced that behavior. And we continued to reinforce that behavior until he was pretty consistent with performing it. Then we increased the criteria to 2 head turns for 1 reinforcer. And until that was consistent. And then we moved on up until we finally got to 4 head turns for and then reinforcement. We introduced the verbal cue when he was pretty consistent with doing 2 head turns. So we would say, Murray, do you, was our verbal cue, and he performed the behavior. So we're pretty happy with where Murray is right now and his performance. So basically what you should look for is Kristen will cue him up on the platform, and Kristen will ask him a question, which will begin with, "Do you?" And he should respond with turning his head 4 times. Last time it rained like this, we had trouble with him even getting him up on the platform. So we're gonna see how he handles the rain. It doesn't look too good.
Murray. Murray, come. Murray, up. Murray, do you like UGA?
Yeah.
Murray, do you like the rain? Murray, do you have a girlfriend? Murray, are you gonna miss me?
Oh.
So I'm Brent, and Megan and I work with Scarlett, who is a Boer goat. She's about 5 years old, I believe, and Boers are native to South Africa. And what we've been training her to do is to discriminate between various blocks which have school emblems on them. And of course, we've been training her to discriminate preferentially for the Georgia Tech block, which is subjectively the best one. And we started off with just using one white block until she became familiar with it. We reinforced her with food and clicking anytime she showed any kind of attention, like if she walked towards the block or touched it with her nose or anything like that. We gradually added one block at a time until she preferentially touched the white block out of whichever ones were present, and gradually worked up to 4 blocks, which is where she is now. Scarlett, go Tech!
Scarlett, come.
Scarlett! Scarlett, go Tech!
Scarlett, come.
Scarlett! Go Tech!
Scarlett, come.
The most bad news bears. Can't choose Georgia.
Scarlett. Go Tech.
She's good. Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
I'm Katie. The goat I trained this semester is Jacob. He is almost 2 years old, and he is a Nubian goat. I chose to train the behavior bleating on command this semester. Unlike the other behaviors you've seen and ones you'll see later, this is not a behavior you can train by shaping. You have to capture the behavior when the animal performs it on its own, and then reinforce it that way. Initially, I planned to reinforce every instance of his bleating, and then increase the frequency of it that way, and then put it on the verbal cue talk and the physical cue of like cupping my hand around my mouth. So I'd say, Jacob, talk, and have him bleat back at me. After our first training session, he did not bleat a single time. He is apparently a very shy, quiet goat. So we had to change the plan a little bit. I set up an environment of deprivation to try to occasion his bleating. So I would go into the training area with him, and I would run him through some of the other behaviors he knows, and then I would leave. And I would turn my back to him and ignore him, basically. This did work to occasion bleating. As soon as he would bleat, I would click, rush back in the pen, and reinforce him with grain, or reinforce the behavior with grain. This brought the behavior from the initial 0 occurrences in a training session up to about 10 occurrences in a training session. I didn't get the behavior on cue because it was simply a matter of
He doesn't bleed enough for me to train that. Hopefully with enough time I would be able to do that. I did increase the frequency of his bleeding, and also he bleeds much louder now than he used to, which might be because I couldn't always hear his bleeding, so I would reinforce only the loud bleeds, so that might have caused him to bleed louder. Today I'm going to show you what he does do in our normal training sessions, and so we'll come out, do a couple training things, and then hopefully he will bleed for us. And these are behaviors that he was trained prior to the semester, and he is relatively young, so he doesn't have that many in his repertoire so far. Jacob, circle. Target. Jacob, circle. Circle. Right. Jacob, come. And normally in a training session, I would reward him each time he bleeds 3 times, then return to the pen and give him more attention and work him through some of his other behaviors, and then do it in sets of 3 that way. So I'm really happy that he did bleed today.
My name is Audrey, and this is Anita, and we trained Bella this semester, who is an 8-year-old Nubian goat, and she has previously been trained to come, target, circle, nod, and jump over a bar. And because most of her tasks have been physical tasks, we decided to train her more problem-solving tasks of color discrimination, which we operationally defined as remote targeting from one of our trainers to touch the white block with her nose on the verbal cue of Bella White. And initially we had a problem because she was not looking at the block at all, so we had to hold the block in front of her face. And as soon as we did that, she interacted with it fairly well, and we reinforced that regularly. And then we gradually shaped it so that she was further away and was remote targeting to the block that was resting on the table. And then we gradually increased the criterion from 0 blocks, just a white block sitting there, to up to 4. And today we are going to start with 2 and hopefully work our way up. Bella White.
Spinster.
Bella, are you the smartest goat here? Bella, are you... No. Bella White? Bella White?
Suppose you took the white block away.
She's gonna be so sad.
Bella White?
Hey, hey.
Very good! Bella White? Bella, come. Bella White? Bella White?
Good.
Wanna try the next one? We have one more block, we've gone up to 4. Target? Bella White? Bella, are you doing well? Bella White?
Very good. Very good.
Hi guys, my name is Omar, and I've been training Edward. He's a 2-year-old Nubian goat. I've been training him to target the bell on the physical cue of pointing. Initially, I wanted him to trot to the bell and then ring the bell. Ringing, of course, is operationally fine as him applying enough force to the bell with his nose to make it plain. We focus much more on ringing the bell than his trotting behavior. So today, I'm going to have Edward ring the bell at the physical cue of pointing. Another abuse, after he becomes consistent with ringing the bell, I'm holding it, I hang it up. So. Come. Edward, come. Bell.
My partner's name is Jade, and we had the pleasure of working with Nessie. Nessie is a Nubian goat, and as you've probably noticed throughout its performances, Nubian goats have a very characteristic nose, known as a Roman nose, and pendulous ears. They are also known for their social temperaments, which make them very easy to train. As a 2-year-old goat, Nessie has already been trained how to come, target, up, down, to circle, and to jump through a hoop. So we thought it was time to teach her a very complex behavior. This behavior is called the figure 8. I would describe the figure 8. Nessie is supposed to start from this position, walk around this pole on its right, walk past this pole on its left, circle around it in a clockwise direction, walk past it again, walk past this pole on the right, and then again finish in the starting position. This is the ideal movement, and ideally she would do it upon the verbal cue of 8. However, this is one of the work in progresses that Allison mentioned that we would have today. So we initially planned to shape the entire behavior using train the entire behavior using shaping. This was very effective in teaching Nessie to move between the poles, but not as effective in training her to walk around the poles. Instead, we found that a cue that she was familiar with, the circle cue, helped her learn how to walk around the pole. It was very easy for her to learn how to walk around this pole, but not to walk around this pole. Most likely because she has a history of reinforcement in which clockwise circles have been reinforced. Not only in her circle movement that she already knew before we came, but also because we worked on this pole first, over and over again. So it was really hard for her to learn to walk in a counterclockwise direction. So instead we used shaping instead of the cue for this pole. And then we had to tie the 2 circles together. In order to do that, we placed one trainer on this side and another on this side. So the trainer on that side shaped the circling behavior around that pole, and the other trainer shaped it around this pole.
And we trained Jasmine. She's a 11-month-old Nubian goat, so she's one of the really young ones they just acquired. Jasmine has not been trained with that many behaviors. She knows the general up, down, target, and come. So we drew inspiration from her name and Aladdin, since she's Jasmine. So our behavior is for her to jump up on her magic carpet and rub her nose against the lamp to the verbal cue, where's Genie? Ran into problems with her attention. Her being one of the young ones, she often gets distracted, as you can see. Another problem
she got the behavior down pretty well, she then started to get lazy and would just do the rubbing her head on the lamp, but not actually touching it. So we'll see if this works. Where's Jeannie? Alright, Jasmine, where's Jeannie? Where's Jeannie? Where's Jeannie? Jasmine, where's Jeannie?
I'm Ellie, and this is my partner Ashley, and our goat is Snow White. She's an 11-month-old Nubian goat, so she has not been trained by any of the Georgia Tech classes before. She has the basic behaviors, target, and up and down. So since her name is Snow White, we wanted to do a behavior that had to do with Snow White, so we decided to train a discrimination behavior. We defined this behavior as her touching the picture of Dopey and avoiding all of the poisonous apples. So first we just started holding the picture of Dopey and reinforcing her for looking at the picture and then approaching it and finally touching the picture with her nose. And once she had that down, we added one apple on another cereal box that was printed out, and that we had some difficulty with that, possibly because she's stimuli were so similar. So then we bought fake apples and continued the process. And once she had been touching her nose to Dopey, we added the verbal cue Dopey. And eventually we added 3 apples. And she has done really well for her first year being trained.
All right, Dopey.
Snow White. Come on, come. Come.
All right, Dopey.
Didn't you see me?
Snow White, come. Come.
All right, Dopey.
He said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. They're on the floor too.
Snow White, come. Snow White, Dopey.
Master Bob setting up the jump rail. Sure, it's just right.
Alright, hello everybody, I'm Bob, and that's Christine. The goat we're training is Cinderella. She is a 1-year-old Nubian goat. Like the other younger goats, she has relatively limited prior training, just simple behaviors like target and come. We decided to teach the behavior of jumping over a bar, which doesn't really require any more explanation. We started off with the bar in the lowest setting. As you can see, there's 4 different settings, and incrementally moved it up roughly with the criterion of when she was jumping about 90% of the time successfully, we would move it up, and consequently if she was failing more than like 10% of the time, we would move it down. And through that process, over the training sessions, we were able to shape up to jumping over the highest setting. We're going to start today on the 3rd highest, just to get hold of the swing of things.
Jump.
Yeah. Cinderella, jump.
Jump.
And you might notice that there's this second bar on here. Cinderella, jump.
Oh, good.
We had to put that second bar underneath because once we get to the highest setting, Cinderella developed a tendency to go under the bar. Cinderella, jump.
Yay!